Hello, guys and gals, and welcome, welcome. So today I wanted to go over something simple. We're going to be talking about the permanent buffs that you get in Path of Exile 2 and where you can get them and why you shouldn't miss them, because the permanent buffs are actually really, really good. And, yeah, there's a lot of them. So without further ado, let's hop right into the first of the permanent buffs, which is going to be your 10% cold resistance, which you get toward the beginning of the game. So for this particular buff, it's going to be like right out of the starting gate. So when you first get to Clearfell Encampment, you're going to be sent outside to Clearfell, which is going to be a place where you're going to do several quests. When you take a look at the map, you'll see that there's a plus symbol next to this skull, and it specifically states that it gives you plus 10% cold resistance. Now we're going to head over there real quick, and where she is specifically varies depending on the map, because the map is sort of randomized in some various ways. But for the most part, you're just going to run around until you find her mound. It's a cold mound like this, as you can clearly see. Get off me, suckers. And when you come up here, she's going to be standing here. Her name is Byra of the Rotten Pack. She's an ice monster, so having a little bit of ice resistance helps, but she's a very early boss, so most of the time you won't have much trouble with her. When you kill her, she's going to drop you a green item. This green item is going to be something that you actually use. So it's going to go in your inventory, and when you right-click on it, it's going to give you the permanent cold resistance that's going to help you out throughout the rest of the game. You definitely don't want to miss this one, as it's literally right in the beginning, and you totally can just walk right past this. They don't really give you a quest to do this, but definitely pick this one up. Now, your next permanent upgrade is going to be in the hunting grounds. So when you finally do get to the hunting grounds, you're going to be looking for the Crowbell. The Crowbell is going to give you a book, which is going to be worth 2 passive skill points. And basically, you're just going to use it. You'll right-click on it, and it's going to give you 2 passive skill points for the tree. He is an optional boss, so he is missable. However, if you look around the area, you will usually find him. The Crowbell is a specific boss that is basically this big giant crow, and eventually he picks up a bell, spoiler, and he starts, like smacking the crap out of you with his bell. The fight's actually pretty fun early on because obviously you're a noob and you don't really have the skills and the equipment really to just like smash him into the dirt. But generally, if you run along in this area, I usually kind of like hug the sides here. You'll usually come to a point where you find him. Think this is it. Yes. And he's generally at the end of this very long area. So the crow comes down. This particular fight, not really too difficult. You're going to attack him, get him down to about half health. He's going to immediately run away. He runs away several times during this encounter, so you just have to follow him. And then, of course, he doesn't let you kill him here either. This is when he picks up the bell, and eventually he's going to smash the door in. This is just another 2 passive points for you, so make sure you kill this guy. He runs to the next area, which is the next boss arena, and then you finally kill him here. And pretty simple stuff. Make sure you get this plus 2 passive skill points, because obviously every passive skill point on the tree is going to be a big boon. You can either get defense, you can get offense, you can get interesting things that are neither defense nor offense. Like the addition of like being able to pierce a target, or like turning all your resistance, your damage into fire res or something like that, or like being able to wield like 2-handed weapons in one hand. There's a lot of very interesting things that you can potentially do with them, so don't skip out on the passive points. Moving on to the next one. The next one is Freythorn. So Freythorn is an optional boss that you can do in the King of the Mists area. So this is the Freythorn King of the Mists. And what you have to do is you have to do like a ritual thing to actually summon him. You get 30 spirit for this, and 30 spirit is used for all of your spirit-related skills, as well as your summons if you're a witch. There are a lot of various spirit skills. Like, for instance, I'm currently utilizing Elemental Conflux, which is a spirit skill. And I'm currently utilizing Overwhelming Presence, which is a spirit skill. So that one requires 30, and Elemental Conflux requires 100. So in this particular case, you're going to head to Freythorn. And in Freythorn, this is basically, I know it says it's a boss, but it's not really a boss, it's the whole area. So what do you do to summon this boss? Well, you have to essentially run around looking for the ritual sites. When you find the ritual sites, and there is going to be quite a few of them, you are going to perform the ritual, which is basically going to summon a whole bunch of monsters, which you then have to kill. And once you have killed all of the monsters, you're going to get the basically the boss room activated. And I can run through here and kind of show you this. Let's find the first ritual altar. Now, what this is actually trying to do is it's trying to introduce you to the ritual system in general. And of course I'm a high level character, so I'm just like flying through this. So this is one of the ritual altars. You're going to click on these and it's going to summon forth a bunch of monsters for the ritual. You got to stay alive, obviously, and you have to kill all the monsters in the ritual until the ritual is cleansed. This is actually a quest with Finn, so you're going to talk to him once you've completed the first ritual, and then you have to complete all the other rituals before you can kill the boss. You're just going to basically just run around and find all of the ritual sites. That's essentially how this quest works. Once you've found all the ritual sites and you've cleansed all the ritual sites, you can then summon the boss at like a grand ritual site or something, much bigger than the other ritual sites. And you can also spend ritual currency. So the reason why they're doing it this way is because of the ritual system. So the ritual system allows you to summon the monsters, fight those monsters, you earn ritual currency in the process. You can then spend this ritual currency on items. And let's see if I can show you this. So we're going to do 1, 2. I should be able to fly through this as a high level, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And my character just like wrecks these guys. Alright, so here we have another ritual altar. Alright, so we've completed that ritual. And I think, I can't remember if that's the last one before you have to fight the boss. Can't remember if it was 3 or 4. But we'll see if we can find him real quick. So let's pull this map up. The only place we haven't been is like up here. So let's run up this way. Man, she's just like screaming as she comes after me. Let's check down this way. Alright, so this is the big ritual site where you fight the boss. So with this particular one, ooh, an essence here. Thank you for my essence. Essences are great to hang on to. Doesn't matter what level you are. Then what happens is you summon the last ritual, and it basically proceeds like a regular ritual where you have to kill monsters. And at which point, once you have killed all the monsters, all of a sudden the boss will spawn. This is the boss who's going to give your 30 spirit. So the King and the Mist right here. So once you kill him, he will drop you a Gem Blood Skull, which you're going to right-click on, and it's going to give you a permanent upgrade of 30 spirit, which you're definitely going to want. And on top of this, you're also going to grab the ritual rewards, which you can spend all of the ritual funds that you've earned. So in this particular case, I don't have any drops here because I've already gotten the Gem Blood Skull. But as you can see, you also have 854 tribute remaining, which you can then spend on things inside of here. Nothing really like too amazing in here, but I'll grab the easy stuff. Just these are, I use like 1 million of these, so why not? Moving on to the next one, let's talk about the next upgrade, which is in Ogrim Farmlands, and is also pretty easy to miss. Alright, so when you go to Ogrim Farmlands, you're going to notice that there's Una's hut here with a little plus symbol on it, and it does give you +2 passive skill points if you go get Una's loot. Una's loot is in her actual house, and if you go and you run around Ogrim Farmland, you will eventually find her house, and inside the house is Una's loot chest, or not loot as in L-O-O-T, but loot as in L-U-T-E. And all you have to do is pick up Una's loot and bring it back to her in town, and she will reward you for this. It's really not that hard to find. As you run around, you will eventually find her house. I do recommend that you get this because it's an early +2 passive points. It's going to help you tremendously. And really all it is a fetch quest. There might be some monsters around, maybe like a rare or something like that, but for the most part, you don't really have to worry about it. It's pretty easy to bypass this, though, because Ogrim Farmlands is such a huge zone, and honestly, I've walked by it several times, and then I had to go back, and I had to find it, because, you know, like, who wants to, you know, miss out on 2 passive skill points? That's just silly. Right, so here it is right here. It usually has a checkpoint in front, so it's very obvious. You're going to go in here, and there's going to be a chest. I've already looted it, but it is going to be green, and it's going to say Luna's loot chest or something like that. And you're going to get that, and you're going to take it back to Luna in town. It's a really simple quest. Make sure you don't miss this one. The next one is going to be in Ogrim Manor, and let's move on to that one. Alright, so the next one is in Ogrim Manor, and you're going to travel there. You may notice that there's nothing on the map to signify this one. Unlike some of the others that actually have a thing on the map that show you the passive skill points that you'll receive, or the resistances, or the spirit, this one does not, and it's one that you could potentially miss if you don't do it correctly. So what this one is this is actually a boss, which is inside of this area called the Candlemass. He's right here. So the Candlemass of the Living Right, Ogrim Manor, and it gives you +20 to maximum life. So if you go to Ogrim Manor and you run around for long enough, you will find a weird-looking statue covered in candles. It doesn't take too long for you to find it, and it has a plaque in front of it. If you interact with the plaque, the Candlemass will actually come to life and will attack you. In normal difficulty, it only gives you a small amount of life. It gives you 20 flat life to your life pool. However, in cruel difficulty, this same quest does exist, and instead of giving you 20 life, he gives you something a little bit more. He gives you 8% increased maximum life. We'll be going over that as well when we hit that part of the thing. But as you can see, he just kind of stands there, looks like a statue. If you click on the Psalm of Madness, he will activate, and this, of course, is going to start the fight. He is not a particularly difficult boss, if I'm being perfectly honest. I didn't really think so. Of course, I'm super overpowered, so I'm just going to one-shot him. But for the most part, when you fight this guy, you're going to have fun with it, and you're also going to get 20 life, so that's good. That is all of the permanent buffs for Act 1. Now we're moving on to Act 2. Alright, so in Act 2, one of your first bonuses, your permanent bonuses, is going to come from a place called Keth. Now, it's going to take you a little while to get here, but there's actually 2 permanent bonuses in Keth, and we'll be talking about that as well. But we're going to talk about the first one, which is Kabbalah, the Constrictor Queen. So if you travel to Kabbalah, as you're running around in this place, you'll see a very suspicious kind of like divot in the ground. That's really the best way I can explain it. And the divot in the ground, it represents a boss fight, although they don't really tell you that. If you go into the divot of the ground far enough, it will activate the boss fight and start Kabbalah, the Constrictor Queen. Kabbalah is it's a very small, it's a very tight fight. If you're a melee character, you might not really have too much of an issue with it, but ranged characters, you're kind of forced in this little tiny little area, and you know, good luck. It's still a pretty early boss, so it's not like ridiculously difficult, and if your character's set up well, you probably just crush her. But when you find her, it's going to be really obvious because it is this like pit that is in the ground, and let's see if we can find it so that we can show you. It should be right around here somewhere. It's fun running around these little areas, just murdering everything. Yes. Excellent. And basically with this particular fight, once you kill her, you will get 2 passive points, which is pretty nice. Honestly, the passive points are super powerful, as I talked about earlier, and especially early on in the game, they can help you out tremendously. I seem to be a little bit further on. She's probably a little bit further on. So let's go this way. We got a checkpoint right here. This could be it. Yes, this is it. So it's called the Venom Pit, as you can see on the map. Like, it literally says the Venom Pit. There's a checkpoint next to it to make it rather obvious that something is going on here. But as you can see, there's nothing in the pit. Until you go into the pit, she doesn't pop out. And this is Kabbalah, the Constrictor Queen. Once you kill Kabbalah, she will drop you the book, and you get your +2 passive skill points. So super duper useful. Make sure you pick this one up. Moving on to the next one, it's actually here, and it's actually somewhere else as well. So we're going to talk about this. This is the relics. There's 2 relics that you have to get. One is the Kabbalah Clan Relic, and the other one is the Sun Clan Relic. Now, the Kabbalah Clan Relic drops here when you kill monsters. So as you kill random monsters, you will have the Kabbalah Clan Relic drop. However, the other part of the relic is in the bone pits. So we have to go back to town, and we have to go to the bone pits. This one is a little bit more involved because it does require going to 2 separate areas and also engaging in a different mechanic entirely. So in this particular case, you have to go to Keth and you have to farm the Kabbalah Sun Relic. The Kabbalah Clan Relic is only 1/2 of the puzzle, though, and you're going to need the Sun Clan Relic, which is dropped in the Bone Pits. The Bone Pits is right here, which is in the Mastodon Badlands. So if you go to the Mastodon Badlands and then you travel to the Bone Pits, you're going to kill monsters in the Bone Pits until you get the Sun Clan Relic. There's no real reason for me to show you this because it's random. There's no specific monster that's going to drop it. You're just going to be killing monsters in the Bone Pits, and as you kill monsters in the Bone Pits, they will drop you the Sun Clan Relic. Once you have both relics, so once you have killed enough monsters in both areas and you actually have both relics, you have to then go activate this particular quest to get the bonuses, which are actually pretty cool. So this is actually going to be located in the Titan Valley, I believe. Where are you at, Titan? The Valley of the Tetons. Yes, the Valley of the Tetons, Titan Grotto. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to run around here until you find this waypoint. This is a specific waypoint in the Valley of the Titans, and it's going to be right in front of this. The medallion is a quest that basically has 2 sides. So this is the Kabbalah Clan Relic, or this is the Kabbalah Clan Relic, and this is the Sun Relic. I can't remember which one. It doesn't really matter. So what this does is it gives you a bonus. It either gives you 30% increased charges gained on your charms, or it gives you 15% increased mana recovery from your flasks. It's a pretty nice buff to have. The charms can be very useful for things like completely making yourself immune to poison, making yourself immune to bleeds, freezes, stuns, all sorts of things. And if you can manage to get 3 charm slots, you can have a lot. So in certain cases, this one can be very good. If you're a mana whore and you need lots of mana, obviously you can choose this one. But do note that it's not permanent. You can change this at any time, so keep that in mind. So if you come back here at a later time and you'd like to change this particular buff, you can. You can just come back here to this waypoint and you can change it. This quest repeats, I believe. I'm trying to remember if it repeats in the cruel difficulty, but we'll move on to the next one. So the next one is Deshar, the Final Letter. So in Deshar, the Final Letter, you have to go and you have to find a dead guy who is unfortunately the lover of one of the people in town. So the quest starts when you see this abandoned Roja here, the Fakeabo. It's totally a fake chocobo. It's a Fakeabo. The Fakeabo here, when you see the abandoned Fakeabo, you are going to basically get this notification that it appears someone rode in on this Roja, but never left. This is going to be your indication that there is a dead guy somewhere in town. Now, when you do this quest, finding him is kind of a pain in the butt, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Sorry, dry throat. You're going to have to run around this entire area. And I've already found him, of course. But it's basically just a dead guy. He's leaned up against one of the buildings, which is probably about the only help that I can give you. So as you are running around, you're going to be looking for a building that he could be leaned up against. Because basically he got wounded, and eventually he, I guess he got away from whoever was attacking him, and he just kind of leaned himself up against a building. As you're running around, you will see him. It will be very obvious. He is green. It will say like fallen soldier or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording. But in this particular case, like let's pretend that he's right here. So he would be leaned up against the building right here, and you're going to click on him, and he's going to have a love letter. You're not going to know who to give this love letter to. There's basically 1,000 people in town that all have exclamation points on their head, and when you talk to them, they kind of give you some rude messages about it, saying things like, "Why did you bring this? Why would you show this to me? You're a terrible person." I don't really know why they all say this, but it's not Sekka Masala, it's not Risu, it is not Zarka. It is obviously not the hooded one. It is Shambren. So you want to bring the love letter to Shambren. Shambren is the one who it belongs to. When you give the letter to her, she will give you +2 specialization points for your passive tree. So you're going to get 2 more points for this beautiful tree. That is this terrible tree. I'm a beautiful tree. You're going to get 2 more points for that. Then there's one more upgrade, and this one's actually really easy to miss. This one's kind of a pain in the butt, so do pay attention to this one. This one is an upgrade in the Spires of Deshar. So when you go to the Spires of Deshar, there is a permanent upgrade here that can be missed, and I don't really know why. It's kind of not explained properly. But basically, you're going to run around here until you find a statue that has the twins of Deshar, I believe, or the sisters of Deshar. I can't remember the exact wording. But basically, this particular statue gives you 10% resistances when you click on it. It's immediate. And if you miss it, well, you just don't get that 10% resistances. So you may want to come back here and grab this if you haven't grabbed it. We're just going to run around real quick, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to show you this statue. So this area is kind of an annoying one, if I'm being perfectly honest. It wasn't one of my favorite areas. However, the place where this statue is very obvious because almost all of these platforms are very same-ish. They have like a thing in the center, right? A little like pagoda or whatever you're talking about. Like even if they don't have the pagoda, they have the hole where the pagoda goes. They're also, filled usually with tons of monsters. And ow, why are you nibbling my eyeball, Mr. Doohan? I need that eyeball for eyeball-related activities. Mr. Doohan, ooh, sockets. Always pick up every socketed item because you can take it back down and salvage them for socket artificer shards, which I use those like all the time, so love it. And like I said, this one's kind of a pain in the butt. You got to run around, you got to find this thing. Where is it? It's random. Like this area is randomized basically every time you come here. It doesn't really quite have the same pattern every single time. And it's not something that I can give you an exact location for. But I do want to find it for you, so let's make sure we find this before we complete this. Now, when you click on the statue, though, they do have some little monsters that pop out. It's the sisters, so you do have to prepare for a fight. From what I understand, though, you don't have to kill the sisters to actually get the buff. You basically get the buff as soon as you kill the sisters, and it looks like we found it. So this is it right here. So as you can see, this platform looks different than the others. It also specifically says, Shrine of the Sisters, the 6 sisters bless the worthy. And there's a checkpoint here, which allows you to get this particular buff. I wonder if I skip this one on my character, because this is my first character that I ever did. Now, when you click on the Sisters of Gar Ukon, it's going to say on the left-hand side, plus 10% lightning resistance. You have received plus 10% lightning resistance. So it looks like I had skipped this one on this particular character. I got it on all my other characters, but I guess since this was my first character, I must have just walked right by this. And it's very easy to walk right by this one and not grab it, because this is not required to complete the level. And on top of that, like, you just don't, like, it's just a statue sitting in the thing. You don't really think anything of it. Maybe it's a clickable. Maybe it gives you, like, 1 gold coin. No, this one actually gives you 10% lightning resistance. Make sure you grab this one. Moving on to the next. This is going to be in Act 3. So let's go on. Alright, so when you get to Act 3, you're going to find your first boss, which is going to give you some pretty good stuff. You're basically going to start out in like the Sandswept Marsh, and you're going to slowly move toward the Ziggurat Encampment, which at that point you're going to move toward the Jungle Ruins. So in the Jungle Ruins is an optional boss that you definitely do not have to fight, and this is a big giant gorilla. If your defenses aren't set up properly, if your character is very poorly geared, you may have some trouble with him one-shotting you, but don't let that dismay you, because his mechanics are actually surprisingly easy, and you should be able to kill him. Even if he one-shots you every single time, you should still be able to kill him. And you might be asking, like, what I mean, so I'm going to show you. In fact, you know what, I'm going to take off my crossbow. That's how confident I am. In fact, I could probably just punch things to death, though. Punch your face, punch your face, punch your face, gonna punch your face. Alright, so let's go find Big Butt. He is a quadrilla. He is one of the giant quadrilla race, which is not a joke. He's a gorilla, but he has 4 arms. That's literally all there is to that. Man, get out of my way. I will punch every one of y'all to death. Y'all don't know me. Now, when you find him, it is very obvious that you have found him. These monsters are giving me a hassle here. Can you, thank you. Ah, dang. When you can only punch things, it does become a little bit difficult to kill them. Now, the only thing that I will suggest about this particular guy is don't get frustrated. If you're brand new to the game, this might be one of your first encounters with a boss fight that requires you to, you know, learn some mechanics. And if I can find Mr. Buttface, in fact, you know, let me pause it and I will go find him, and then I will come right back. Alright, so I have found him. And he is at the temple ruins here. I wanted to like teleport away from him because he is highly aggressive, and that was one of the things I was going to say, is that he is extremely highly aggressive. So once you actually get to this point where you would get to the checkpoint, he is going to aggro you almost immediately, and he's going to start beating the ever-loving crap out of you from the moment that you see him. When you respawn, if you die, which there's a very good chance that you're going to die when you fight him, so don't feel bad. He kind of just like bushwhacks you. On top of this, the boss fight isn't very fair from a lot of perspectives, because as you can see, the entire time you're fighting him, the monsters are just going to keep aggroing you from all over the entire arena. So he is just going to constantly be assisted by all of these monsters, these additional monsters that are going to come in, and they are going to basically ruin your fight, right? But I'm going to show you really quickly how you can kill him. Super easy. And we're going to do this together. So when you're fighting him, you basically just stay close to him, and you're going to get behind him like this. And every single time he swings, he is going to mess this up, right? So you just make sure that you're behind him. He has a horribly, basically exploitable mechanic. As you can see, I am never in any danger of being actually hit by him with this particular setup. So all you have to do is just make sure that you're dodging behind him. You have the opportunity to hit him at least one time, like this, boop, and you can just boop, and then you just continue this rotation over and over again until he's dead. If you're having trouble with his mechanics, this is the easiest way. Now, there is one little thing that he does that does make this fight a little bit obnoxious, and it has to do with the fact that when you're doing this particular mechanic here, where you're exploiting the fact that he is doing these big, heavy swings and staying behind him, you're going to run into a situation where eventually he's going to roll towards you, and of course take advantage of any situations you can to do damage while he is frozen. But in this particular case, he is obviously not going to kill me no matter what. He has a couple interesting mechanics that occur every now and then, but nothing that really changes how this functions. So you're pretty much just going to keep punching him, or well, in your case, probably hitting him with a weapon, but until he dies. It's not really that big of a deal. When he gets into low HP, he does start some other mechanics, so I want to get into low HP to show you. So let's just continue this the whole way through. There you go. That's the roll right there. So be a worry of that roll. I don't really know if there's any way you can actually predict that, but that does hurt, and it can potentially kill you. There's also another mechanic that he does where he starts swinging his weapon rapidly, very quickly. And let me see if I can get him to do this mechanic as well. This one is also not really that difficult to dodge. It's a 3-strike. It's basically he's going to swing the weapon 3 times. There you go. That was his roll again. The roll is probably the most deadly thing in this fight, to be perfectly honest. There you go. That's 1, 2, and then 3. So that's the other mechanic that he has when he starts to get on low life, and it's not really that difficult of a fight. Even if he one-shots you, even if he kills you every single time he touches you, there's still a very good chance you can do this fight successfully if you just utilize the mechanics that I just showed you. And that's going to get you +2 passive skill points. That's your first plus permanent bonus in Act 3, so make sure you grab those. The next one is going to be the Stormtrooper Azok Bog, who is riding around on a freaking like speeder from Star Wars. I'm not even joking. Let's head over there real quick. All right, so Azok Bog is an optional area. You don't actually have to go there, but it's in Act 3, and you basically have to travel to Azok Bog to get there. In the Infested Barrens, so let's do this correctly. So if you're in Ziggurat Encampment and you travel to Jungle Ruins, that's where the mighty Silver Fist is that we just killed. You're also going to travel to Infested Barrens, and then you're going to go up to Azok Bog. So there is an entrance to Azok Bog in the Infested Barrens. You just have to find it. Infested Barrens is a big area. It has 1, 2, 3 different zones that connect to it. So it's definitely going to take a little bit of doing to come to. Now, when you go here, though, it's very obvious that you're heading in the right direction because the Infested Barrens has a jungle part, and it also has kind of like a dried out sort of swamp part, which is like, you know, it's almost like sandy with like the potholes in it, like all the little holes for all the little creatures and whatnot. It's a very obvious area, so when you're traveling through here, you will see the Azok Bog pretty easily. In Azok Bog, there is an interesting quest that you can do that is not permanently buffs, but it does give you a interesting buff to fight the end boss. And you may want to do this before you actually fight the end boss. So as you run around, you're eventually going to come across an area which is specific to the boss that you're about to fight. It's fire resistance. It also gives you a rarity bonus too, although I'm not exactly sure how much rarity bonus it gives you. So when you're on your way to this quest, I would highly recommend seeking out the ritual altars so that you can get this. It's basically a permanent buff for this particular area of a rarity increase. And when you find it, it's basically just a big giant open like area. And in this open area, there's a bunch of I want to call them effigies would be the correct term. Effigies are basically this. You know, like created wooden structures, and these created wooden structures are meant to be burnt. So what you do is you actually burn all the effigies, and then you burn the one in the center. And once the one in the center is lit, you gain this permanent buff. It's going to be fire resistance, as well as a healthy amount of rarity increase, although I don't know the exact amount, but I definitely could tell that I had a rarity bonus as I was running around this level. It's actually a pretty good idea to use that rarity bonus to your benefit and just have some fun running around killing monsters for loot. Because it doesn't just work on the boss, it also works on just anything in the area. Now, it does take some effort to find. This area is ridiculously huge, and the place of the ritual altars is different every single time. In fact, you may often find the boss before you find the ritual altars, and I mean, that's fine. If you can kill the boss without the bonus, ooh, prismatic ring. If you can kill the boss without the altars, then that's perfectly fine. But it does get you a better loot when you kill the boss, so it may be worth your time to just take a backpedal and find this particular zone. So this is not the one I was looking for. So this is the boss. This is Ignakduk, and you thought I was joking about her being a stormtrooper on a speeder. She is totally a stormtrooper on a speeder. Now, she has several phases, and I would like to show you the phases just in case you're having trouble with this fight. So I'm going to go ahead and just punch her down a little bit here. Now, the first phase, she basically just spends running around. She's gonna speed around on her little broom like she's literally Harry Potter, or she's, you know, like freaking Nimbus 2000 or whatever. This entire phase right here is really annoying, and sometimes you may have trouble getting through this because she does have an energy shield. So every single time she flies away, she kind of regenerates her energy shield, which does make it a little bit difficult to dish out damage to her. She's going to keep flying around until she hits, like, I think it's like the 4th time, and she gets off her broom and she kind of fights you a little bit. So just focus on getting the DPS done for this phase, and once you DPS her enough in this phase, she will eventually fall off her broom. And once she falls off her broom, then you get to fight her for real in her, like, regular witchy form or whatever. She's still not quite down to the 2nd phase yet, so this is just the 1st phase. And then she falls off her broom. This is the 2nd phase. She lights everything on fire. She does lots of fire attacks. So as you can clearly see, that permanent bonus from the ritual for this particular area is going to be very nice, because obviously that's going to help you with your fire. Most of her attacks are really easy to avoid, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, she does a flamethrower, which is very easy to avoid. This thing right here, literally just don't stand inside of it. She also does these circles on the ground, which most of the time it's literally just a matter of moving out of the circles so you don't get hit by those specific effects. She does a flamethrower pointing forward, and most of the time all you gotta do is just not be in front of her. I mean, the mechanics on this boss are fairly easy to avoid for the most part. So in this particular case, you can see I can just walk behind her and just start beating her in the back of the head with my fists. I mean, don't stand, like, even remotely near this one either, because it also has, like, an AoE component at the backside. Let's just keep on punching. Punch, 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 punchy, punch. Punchy, punchy. Oh, we stand, like, right here is fine. As you can see, fire resistance would be a major benefit here, seeing as how she's doing mainly fire damage, right? Of course, these mechanics wouldn't hurt me even if I'd let her hit me with them, so... and when you kill her, she's going to drop you a Gem-Blood Skull. The Gem-Blood Skull is going to give you a 30 spirit bonus, which is absolutely amazing. And this also gives you a spirit bonus in the repeat. So if you're doing the Cruel version of the game, you're going to get another 40 spirit bonus in Cruel. So you're going to be able to get some pretty nice bonuses. That's kind of a nice little staff there. 70% increased spell damage and +3 level of all chaos spells. That's kind of nice. Chaos spells. So make sure you grab this, because obviously Spirit is very important. It's going to get you, obviously, access to your things like Elemental Conflux, or your Overwhelming Presence, or your Cast on Crit, or whatever it is that you're planning on using. There also could be useful, very useful for a Witch, obviously, because that equals more summons, which is definitely what you're going to want. So make sure you grab your additional 30 Spirit, and then an additional 40 Spirit in the next difficulty. Moving on to the next one, there is the Venom Crypts. The Venom Crypts is another bonus that is permanent, but it is a choice bonus, so it is one that you can choose between all the various options. Now, there's 2 various options that you can do for this, and I'm not entirely sure that you can redo this one, if I'm perfectly honest. I think once you choose this one, it is permanent. So this one ends up being what's the term I'm looking for? It's a fetch quest, basically. Yeah, fetch quest. And you're going to go to the Venom Crypts. And in the Venom Crypts, you're going to run around in there until eventually you find the Venom Draught, which is buried deep within this stupid Venom Crypts. In the Infested Barrens, you're going to find this. So we're going to go down to the Infested Barrens. Infested Barrens is kind of like a deep area full of tons of different things, so it's definitely one that you're gonna like search around with. Or actually, was it Venom Barrens? Or let me just make sure here. It might be, yes, it's this one. Sorry, it's Jungle Ruins. My bad. Jungle Ruins. So in Jungle Ruins, you get the waypoint. It's actually at the waypoint. So if you have the Jungle Ruins waypoint, you're gonna find the Venom Crypts. You're basically just gonna go down here and you're gonna run around until you eventually find the Venom Draught. Like I said, it's just a fetch quest. You basically just need to go around here until you find it. It's going to be in a very specific room, like far off from the entrance. There's also a treasure room in here, so it's actually kind of worth your time to search around in here, because you could potentially even find some other good stuff. Once you grab the Venom Draught in both the Cruel and the new version, so like the old version of non-Cruel, you're going to take this back to town. You give it to Survey. Survey is going to give you the choice to create one of a couple different potions, and we're going to go over those options. So you're going to deliver the Venom Vial to Survey, right here. And you're going to be able to choose between some pretty good options. Let me see if I can actually pull these up on the map. I'm not sure. Yes, they are listed on the map. I'm sorry. I was not in this up. So right here. So this is right here. It's called the Venom Draught. In this particular case, I chose 30% increased Elemental Ailment Threshold. So you can choose between 25% increased Stun Threshold, 30% increased Elemental Ailment Threshold, or 25% increased Mana Regeneration Rate. Now, Mana Regeneration Rate is obvious. That's obviously faster regen. What do the other two do? So Threshold. Stun Threshold and Elemental Ailment Threshold. Those are pretty clear terms, but Threshold is referring to you. It's not referring to the monster. So in this particular case, it's going to prevent me from being stunned easier. So like, if, for instance, when a monster tries to stun me, I have more of a resistance to that stunning effect. So 25% increased stun threshold is very good if you are a melee character. I would highly recommend it, because you're going to get you're going to get stunned a lot when you're in melee. Like, you're going to get beat down pretty good as a melee character. So stun threshold is going to help you out tremendously. Elemental ailment threshold is referring to things that are fire, lightning, or ice. And that is going to be ignite, freeze, chill. I believe that also includes shock, and I'm not entirely sure if it includes electrocution, but elemental ailment threshold covers a much larger degree of ailments, which means that it's going to protect you from a larger amount of things. I'm not entirely sure which one I would prefer, like, on every single character, but elemental ailment threshold definitely seems a lot better, like, as a generic. And stun threshold seems much better if you are like a melee character who needs a lot of that. Now, in Act 3 Cruel, you get the same quest, and the same quest has a different option. So the three options in Act 3 Cruel, despite the fact that it's the same quest, are going to give you different results. So in this particular case, you have the option between 10% chaos resistance, which I think is pretty much objectively the best option, 5 to all attributes, or 15% reduced slowing potency debuffs. And this one is kind of a no-brainer. Chaos resistance is very difficult to get your hands on. It also comes in very low quantities on your equipment, whereas you can get like 30, sometimes even like up to 40% to a specific resistance. Like, as you can see, I have 34 fire res on my boots, or I have like 21 cold on that. I've got 27 cold on my helmet. Chaos resistance tends to come in lower numbers, and when you do find it in high numbers, it tends to be only like 20%. Like, as you can see, I have 21% chaos resistance on my helmet. On top of that, if you're utilizing rings that have +2 all elemental resistances, chaos is not an elemental resistance, and so therefore it doesn't get affected by that. As an example, I'm currently using a ring that has +10 to all elemental resistance, and you can see that when I take it off and put it on, my fire, my lightning, and my cold are going up and down, but my chaos resistance stays exactly the same. So 10% chaos resistance, I think, is quite honestly the best option here. And it's huge, obviously, because, you know, you're trying to get as much chaos resistance as you can. Even on this character, I have all my reses capped, but my chaos resistance is still not quite capped, although 66% is pretty respectable. Next is the Blackjaw Remnant. The Blackjaw Remnant is in Jaquani's Machinarium. Now, Jaquani's Machinarium is kind of a pain in the butt to get to, so I kind of want to give you a little bit of a heads up on how you get there. So first off, let's find Jaquani's Machinarium, which is right here. So first you're going to have to go to Chimeral Wetlands. So this entire process is a pain in the butt. You're going to go from Ziggurat Encampment to Jungle Ruins to Infested Barrens to Chimeral Wetlands. And then in Chimeral Wetlands, there's no direct entrance to Jaquani's Machinarium. There's actually a boss that is guarding the entrance. And I think if I go to... let's see if I can go to Jaquani's Machinarium and back out. That'd be the easiest way. Or actually, I think this one prevents you from backing out, doesn't it? Because that would make it too easy to fight this boss over and over again. So there is a boss in Chimeral Wetlands that you have to fight. It is a Chimera. Go figure. And you're going to run around the map basically until you find the boss. The boss is not particularly difficult. I actually have a lot of fun fighting him. And you're just going to need to go to this area first. You're going to have to find the boss. Once you kill the boss, so once you actually kill him, the door to Jaquani's Machinarium will open up. This is part of the quest line, so it's not like it's something that you're going to be able to avoid. So you do have to kill the Chimera boss to get to Jaquani's Machinarium to move into the quest line for this particular quest. Now, when you do this, you're going to move down into Jaquani's Machinarium, and in Jaquani's Machinarium, you're going to find Blackjaw the Remnant. Blackjaw the Remnant is a... I don't know if he's optional. Is he optional, or is he... I don't even remember. It's been a little while, actually. Unfortunately, he's behind all of these stone altars, so you have to constantly grab each one of these altars. Excuse me. Which requires you to run around grabbing these little small soul cores. It is a part of your main storyline, though, so, you know, like, grabbing all these little small soul cores and doing this quest is something that you're going to have to do anyway. You're just going to run around looking for them. You don't really have to kill everything. So what you're going to do is you're just going to find the green... You can actually see them through the walls, by the way, which is pretty cool. So as you're running around, you'll be able to see whether or not they're actually in the room without actually going into the room. Which I think is kind of funny. So not in this direction. This boss isn't really a good one to farm because, honestly, he's just a pain in the butt to get to. Having to do this quest every single time you come back here kind of just like nips that in the bud. And I'm just trying to find one of the soul cores just to show you what you need. Although you should, honestly, have no issue with this quest whatsoever. There you go. So this is one of the small soul cores right here. You're going to grab this, and you're just going to bring it back to the altar. And that's going to open the door. Now, this specific boss is behind one of these doors. So you're going to need one of these soul cores to activate the door. To get to this boss. And let me see if I can get to this boss really quickly. I will pause this real quick and I will come right back. Oh, look, we got the second soul core like that. Hold on. We might be in the money for an easy run. Hold on just a minute. It's so fun running around killing these monsters with these ridiculous attacks. Ooh, second soul core. So you're going to need multiple of these soul cores anyway. That's right, I said it. You're going to need multiple. Is this my boy here? I think this might be my boy here. Hold on. We might not even need to pause it. So let's go ahead and put the soul core in the altar. And just like the last monster, the Azok Bog Queen that was fire, this guy is also fire. So as you can see here, he's got like this big giant base, and he breathes fire. He does have some exploitable mechanics. I find that fighting him in melee is just easier in general, but he is a lot faster than like the Mighty Silverback in those terms. But if you do want to fight him, I would recommend that you get some fire resistance for this guy, because he is a little bit of a pain in the butt. Let me just kind of like show you his other mechanics. I don't want to outright kill him with my big old crossbow. So in the first phase, he's highly exploitable like this. You can pretty much just dodge back and forth and take like no damage whatsoever. However, when he gets to the second phase, and let's go ahead and get him to the second phase, because that's where things get interesting anyway. Alright, so now he's going to start doing some bigger attacks. And I'm just going to bring him all the way down to half to make sure he's using all of his mechanics. He has some pretty big slams. He's got some very, like, big AoE attacks as well. Some of them are, like, dressed in fire. He also uses flamethrowers, obviously. He puts fire on the ground. He actually starts doing some serious mechanics toward the half point in the fights. If you have a large amount of fire resistance, you should be okay here. But as you can clearly see, like, he definitely starts to ramp up the fight toward the end, kind of like, you know, heating up, so to speak. I still think that, like, his fighting him in melee is just way easier than fighting him in ranged. So, like, if you fight him in melee, you tend to have an easier time dodging his attacks. He does obviously have fire that he puts on the ground, though, that can make things more difficult. And what do you get for this? Well, you get some really nice bonus fire resistance. That's right. So the fire boss gives you the very thing that you need to kill him. So he's going to give you plus 10% fire resistance, which is really nice. So make sure you grab him. He is an optional boss. As I said, you don't have to come in this room, and you do need an extra soul core for this. So if you happen to find an extra soul core as you're walking around, you definitely want to pick it up because you can use that to come into this room and fight Mr. Blackjaw the Revenant, which is going to give you your plus 10% fire resistance. And now we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Agarat Blood Sacrifice. This one's a little hard for me to show you guys because obviously I don't have the heart anymore and I don't have the quest, so all of that has been finished. So basically what happens is as you're running around Agarat, which is one of your quest areas, you're going to find this big bloody heart. And when I mean big, I mean like the size of a beach ball big. Like, it is a huge heart. I don't know what creature this thing came out of, but it's ridiculous. It is in Agarat, which is... Where is Agarat? I can't even remember where this place is. I might not even be able to go there anymore. I'm not entirely sure. Is it in the underground area? Molten Vault, Temple of Kopak. Wow, I'm missing a bunch of my waypoints. I am a horrible waypoint misser. Let's go up to Apex of Filth. Oh, actually, I remember where Agarat is. Never mind. Did you just chew on my wire? Quit it. So I'm pretty sure this is in the future, if I remember correctly, so I gotta go to the future for this. Which I may not be able to do, because I've already defeated this difficulty. It might not let me in there, actually, now that I think about it. We might have to go over to another character if it doesn't, let's see. Yeah, so this just brings me to cruel difficulty, which is not what I want. So let's hop over to one of my other characters. Actually, he hasn't completed Act 3 yet. She's already completed cruel difficulty as well, so I may not be able to show this, actually. So this one is in Agarat. Agarat is in the, like, the future area. So when you go to the future, essentially, in the Act 3 quest line, so you're gonna fight, what is it? Trying to remember his name. The Sun God. You're gonna fight the Sun God. And when you fight the Sun God, you're going to open up this gateway. This gateway is going to take you to the future, or the past, I think. I think it's the past. Yeah, it's the past. It's going to take you to the past. And in the past, you're going to go to Utzal and a bunch of other areas, and eventually you're going to find Agarat, and you're going to basically have a altar. This altar is going to allow you to place a heart on it, and the heart that you put on it, you're going to sacrifice, and you're going to get +2 weapon skill points from that as well. So this one is definitely really good. If you find the heart, the sacrificial heart, you definitely want to make sure you use it, and make sure you sacrifice that heart to your character. Now let's go over all of the points together, now that I've kind of finished going over this, and we're going to talk about real quickly like which points... what the total should be added up to, and to make sure you're not missing anything. Alright, so here are all the permanent buffs listed for you guys to see them. So you should have 20% to your lightning res buff, which is easy to miss. You should also have 20% to cold and 20% to fire. You gain 10% obviously from the cold boss in Act 1. You gain 10% lightning from the sister statue in Act 2, and you gain the 10% fire buff from the Chicani's Machinarium. So you should have a 20% to all resistances by the time you're finished with Cruel Difficulty, because you're going to get 10% from each boss, and then you're going to get 10% from each boss again. You should have a total of 24 weapon skill points after you completed all of the quests in both normal and cruel difficulty. So that is a large number of weapon skill points that you don't want to miss out on. You're also getting an additional passive 100 spirit if you grab all the spirit quests from all of the difficulties. Now, not all of the spirit quests repeat, unfortunately, so you don't end up with a super ridiculously large amount of spirit, but you should have plus 100 spirit by the time you're finished, which is going to be really nice. 20 maximum life and an additional 8% increase to your maximum life, which are both going to be very good to have, so you want to make sure you grab both of those. Then you're going to have a bunch of choices, so obviously you get your choice number 1, which is your 30% increased charm charges or your mana recovery. Choice number 2 is your increased stun threshold, elemental ailment threshold, or your increased mana regeneration. And then choice number 3 is going to be your chaos resistance, plus 5 to all attributes, or 15% reduced slowing potency. So you're going to have a large number of permanent buffs that you're going to want to take advantage of. And obviously missing out on these can definitely hurt your character. If you don't grab all the resistances, then you're just going to be missing out on 20% resistances to all elements as you're going forward. And you also get an additional 10% to chaos. So basically you get, well, 10% to all resistances and 20% to all elemental resistances, which is definitely very, very nice. These buffs are definitely something you're going to go back for. It should be very obvious on the map whether you've completed them or not. So as you're going back and looking at things, you will see that there are permanent buffs on the map that are either active or not active. Oh, there's the blood sacrifice. I was hoping that I could show that to you. So there you go. There's Agarat, and there is the blood sacrifice, as you can see. A strange power, but worth the price, grants 2 weapon set passive skill points. And when you go to Agarat, you're going to be looking for the altar, essentially. I wonder why it shows it to me now, but it didn't show it to me before. That's interesting. Maybe because I'm in... I don't even know. My waypoint doesn't even work. It's quite interesting. What if I go through the portal again? Back to the riverbank. Back to the riverbank. Alright, guys and gals, it's been fun talking about the passive skill points and the permanent bonuses that you get. Obviously, if you guys are fans of Diablo 2, you are very well aware of, you know, like having permanent buffs that you have to go farm and get, you know, like the Jade figurine or, you know, various other beautiful things like the Tome of Liam Neeson and the 2 skill points that Tyrael gives out, the Den of Evil, and so forth and so on. And this is really no different than that. This is really just making sure that you have all of your beautiful passives buffs that will enhance your character and make it a hell of a lot easier for your character to move forward. As always, I appreciate you guys and gals joining me. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.